Hi, this is Ben and Barry on football. My name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. I produce the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings.
And my name is Ben Dickerson, fantasy guru, all things fantasy, baseball, football, and basketball, and lover of everything football.
Okay, that's a lot. That's a lot there, kid. That's a lot there.
Did I say
Making
too
my
much?
resume sound a little light. Uh, I'm gonna actually have to add in the Madden part. Madden aficionado. Can I call myself that? A Madden
If you
aficionado.
must.
What was that?
I said, if you must.
However, for those who are watching, let's go here. Yes. This is Ben and Barry on football. The guy in the hat, he's Ben, I'm Barry. And that's how long it's been, 1983 approximately. Beyond that we've been talking football, going back and forth. Ben's a Giants fan, and I am a Niners fan, but we are first and foremost and primarily football fans on all levels. Coach Little League, played rough touch leagues. Ben's coaching in what's now a flag league. So we've had a lot of time together. Before I go any further, let's see if I can move here. Again, this is Ben and Barry on football. So we ask you to click the subscribe button and the notifications button. We're going to be talking football on all different levels, especially with the bigger picture in mind, with the people picture in mind. And then during the season, we really get into the numbers, especially relative to net points and the strategies on football and things of that nature. So, Ben, today, real quick, we're going to run through a few different things. There's the NFL draft. There's still things going on. People are having pro days, things of that nature. We'll talk about that real quick. News are out about the AAF, the Alliance of American Football. A couple things really hit the news this week. In the NFL, the owners met and they made some significant changes. I want to talk a little bit about the Players Coalition. There was $80 to $90 million pledged by the NFL, Mr. Jenkins, Malcolm Jenkins, and that whole group of players have put together the Players Coalition, and I'm going to talk about what they're actually doing. There's some great things popping on our social media. We made some interesting connections, and we'd like to share with people. And then if we have any rants and stuff, we'll do that real quick. So let's kick this off, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Players Coalition. Now, Ben, while I'm setting this up,
Yes, sir.
You're familiar with the Players Coalition, right?
I know there is one.
Okay. Do you remember the confrontation that happened at the Eagles game with what's his name? Kaepernick and Eric from the Panthers.
There was a confrontation at the Eagles game?
Yeah. I'm not sure if they were in. I don't know if the Eagles were in Carolina or Carolina was here, but Eric Reed, former 49er, Eric Reed.
If I remember correctly, and you're really taxing my memory on this one, but I believe the Eagles took exception to a hit that Eric Reed made on Zach Ertz. Is that the confrontation you're speaking of?
No. Actually, I believe this happened like pre-game.
Oh, pre-game. Okay.
Pre-game. Yeah.
Yeah. Eric Reed was questioned about maybe not wanting to speak to, shake hands with, or something along those lines.
Something
with
along
Malcolm
those
Jenkins,
lines.
and people
Absolutely.
questioned him after the game as to why he acted the way that he acted.
Yes, yes, yes,
Okay, all
yes.
right, I'm with you.
Key pillars. Can you see that in front of you?
Yes, I can.
So this is the Players Coalition, players-coalition.org website. And one of the things that I kind of drawing contrast between what Kaepernick's doing because of that thing, because to be quite honest, I would have wished that Kaepernick were involved with this because he kicked it all off, basically, you know. But what they're doing, I believe, deserves attention. So as we look at the key pillars of the Players Coalition, this is their key pillars: police and community relations, criminal justice reform, and education and economic advancement. So if you got like 80 to 90 million dollars and that you can put into those three areas, I think that's some interesting potential. So when I started to look through this and they talked about the guiding objective to end racial disparity and criminalization of poverty in policing and criminal justice. I love it. I love that line. It is what it is. Let's face it and say what it is, and then we can go in and see what we can do to ameliorate this situation. Establish greater trust between the police and the community by having a significant impact in the reduction of police brutality. So these are the issues that Kaepernick knelt for. Am I correct?
So far, so good.
So far, so good. Here you go. This was an interesting thing. Did you know? So I just want to make sure you can see the bottom where you see the numbers.
Yes.
1,147 killed, 149 unarmed people killed. This is under the heading, excuse me for a second. I just wanted to show the heading, make sure I showed that. Did you know? And so they're talking about, police killings, and they're just showing it very graphically. So 1,147 killed by police in 2017, 149 were unarmed. If you're black, you're 3 times more likely to be killed and 3.49 times more likely to be shot if you're black. So the thing about, this is that they're getting right to it. They got the numbers here. They're talking about the different programs. I want people to kind of go to the Players Coalition website, take a look at what they're doing. I clicked on one of the news articles, and again, you got to see all the players who are involved. First of all, that guy right there.
That's Anquan Bolden.
Anybody who knows Anquan Bolden, Anquan was a Niner for a hot minute. Anquan's the guy that got his jaw broke and played. He's right up there with some of the toughest people out there and he's focused. And they're out in the community, and they actually spent time. I'm trying to get this thing, stupid things. Okay, that's what I want to do. They actually spent time in courtrooms. And this was a very interesting article right here, because I don't know if you know this or not, but the district attorney, Larry Krasner, has been pushing to change the cash bail situation.
Right.
And they're a part of all of that. They're a part of that. And then here he talked about they stopped seeking cash bail for a variety of nonviolent charges, including drug possession and prostitution. Altogether, they had 25 different charges for which cash bail was eliminated. Now, this is all nonviolent stuff.
Right.
Amounted to 61% of the cases, over half the cases with these 25 charges. So all these people are getting locked up, but they can't get out of jail because they don't have cash.
Right.
You know, they're saying, and this is USA Today, a report shows that Krasner's reform worked. In fact, his plan shines as a model for cities across the nation to follow. Okay, I don't think he's getting the credit for that. But then you look up, Philadelphia Eagles, Malcolm Jenkins is a co-founder of Players Coalition, group of current and former athletes who fight for criminal justice. And they talk about how they supported that initiative.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Again, I get Kaepernick all right now. Kaepernick's doing a few things. But I mean, I would think that he would want to be with them and not be a tug of war between, what I'm credited with versus what you're credited with. It's more of how can we put together and move forward, because these guys have a serious agenda. They have something in place. They both have the same goal, but they just seem to be following along different tracks.
First, let me say, before this Players Coalition was, well, I'm not even going to say that. Before the whole idea of trying to get this certain amount of money from the NFL owners to show that they were willing to make a commitment along with the players to address these egregious things that were happening in a lot of urban areas, which of course is what Kaepernick is kneeling for. I like to give credit to not just Kaepernick and Eric Reed, but a lot of those players that were pictured there, and even more of them that have been doing these things on their own on smaller levels. Kaepernick has continued to do that on his own on smaller levels. As far as him being a part of the coalition is concerned, the sticking point came somewhere just before the actual amount of money was pledged by the owners, and the coalition was able to then take that money and start to use it in the name of the coalition. And the sticking point was that Malcolm Jenkins, speaking for the owners, was trying to tell Eric Reed and Kaepernick that if we get this amount of money, the owners are willing to give this amount of money if you drop the lawsuit. That was the sticking point, as far as I know. If anybody out there, please always click, always subscribe, talk to us on our YouTube channel. Let me know if you know something other than something I might be missing, or if I'm incorrect with that. But there was a big, big argument between Eric Reed and Malcolm Jenkins in reference to why do we have to drop the suit, or why do we have to say certain things in order for the owners to show a commitment. Either they're committed to the same things that we have a problem with, or they're not. Shouldn't have anything to do with the lawsuit. Either you want to help us or you don't. That was Eric Reed's position. And that's why they pulled out of the coalition. Well, Eric Reed pulled out of the coalition. I don't think Kaepernick ever actually aligned himself with the coalition. I think Eric Reed tried to in the beginning, but the negotiations that were going on between the players and the owners, as far as how much, what it's supposed to be used for, and all that, somewhere in between there was a falling out between Reed and Jenkins in reference to the lawsuit. Reed was like, we're going to do this regardless, but we also want to do all these other things. And for us to do these other things on the big scale that we'd like to do them, we need the owners. Are you with us? Are you committed? Are you willing to give us this amount of money to do this? And they seem to not want to do it unless they drop the lawsuit. And that's why he pulled out. So actually pulling out kind of let the coalition go on and get the owners to do what they wanted them to do and be able to do what they're doing now with the money that the owners pledged. That's the way I see it. So
well,
the coalition is doing a great, great thing. And all the things that they're doing is what Kaepernick wanted, as far as I know. So to me, it's a win-win.
Okay.
And now that the lawsuit is over, who's to say that Kaepernick and Reed will not join them again in some way, shape, or form at a later date?
Well, now, the interesting thing here is that Kaepernick and Eric Reed basically settled. They didn't take the lawsuit to the nth degree.
Okay, but it's over, right?
Yeah, they settled.
Okay.
They got money. Apparently, there was some wide-ranging estimates about what they got, and people didn't know. The last I heard is that it came out to about 14 mil.
Okay.
From estimates as high as 90. However, by settling, from what I understand, had they pushed this all the way through, this would have somehow enabled the Players Association and might have paid him more money. There's a whole issue there about how it impacted the Players Association.
The association or the coalition?
No, the union.
Okay.
The union, if they had went through with the full lawsuit, I think that's what the union wanted him to do.
Okay.
I will clarify for the next show. People can, maybe you can, again, someone knows and can give us some more insight into this. But that's what I think they wanted to happen. He would have actually, he had an opportunity to get more money. It was like deal or no deal. You know, you can take that money up there, but the lady's calling down on the phone saying, or you can keep playing, brother, but I'll give you this right now. You know.
The thing is that would have in order for them to go all the way through with that, I mean, they had the choice to do it. The suit was in place. They went to court. They did what they had to do. They decided to settle. If they had decided not to settle and continue to push through and try to prove collusion, then yes, that would have been not only for them, but for everybody else who knelt too. And there were plenty of other guys who knelt. So, but if the Players Coalition didn't seem to be that interested in getting that benefit, they were saying, drop the suit, come in with us, they'll give us the money and we can roll.
Well,
they got the money.
That's not, again, if that's how the NFL first kind of set them up, I can kind of see them going to them like, look, it's about the bigger picture. It's about what we can do for the people. If we can get this humongous lump sum of money, close to 100 million, you still want to beat them up for, your particular situation, especially considered that he already made about 40 million in the NFL. So it ain't like he was hurting for cash.
Right. The missing link seems to me like the missing link here is, instead of Eric Reed saying, the heck with y'all, I'm not making no deals with the owners. Either they're with us or they're not. He could have then come back and said, listen, we're going to go for this. And if we prove collusion, they didn't only just collude against Eric Reed and Kaepernick, they colluded against all you guys. Everybody who took a knee in 1 game or 10 games, they colluded against all of you, or could have, or would have if they were able to or wanted to. It's the divide and conquer thing. You see what I'm saying? If they come back and say, listen, this could benefit the entire union if you guys back us, and say, no, we're not going to agree to this if we have to agree to that, and put the owner's feet to the fire. But they didn't. They let them go their way with the suit. They could have joined the suit. Could they not have? Could the Players Association have said, we want to join in on the suit? I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't.
Yeah, that's we'll look into it a little bit
They
more. I
chose
mean,
not to do that.
the number one thing was that, again, though, just to get back to it, is I wanted to expose what the Players Coalition was doing,
and that's wonderful.
You know what I mean? So I think that it makes a difference. It's making a difference out in the community. Again, if their influence helped Krasner, get those cash bail situations out, because it's you get someone they get nabbed for whatever. Black people get nabbed at a higher rate for marijuana, for example. Now you're sitting in jail. You got a job, but you can't get to your job. Now all of a sudden your job's in jeopardy. You have family responsibilities. You can't be there. Your family's now thrown into a tizzy because of this situation, and people looking for money that don't normally have lump sum of money like that. So, and the interesting thing about the article, if you read it all the way through, is that they were saying that the rate of recidivism and the rate of people who actually show up for court like they're supposed to,
right,
is high. Recidivism is low, but they're showing up at almost 100%.
Mm-hmm.
So you didn't have to keep them in jail, to get them to their court date. They're
right,
showing up for their court dates and dealing with what needs to be dealt with without you disrupting their life completely.
Exactly.
While they're waiting for their next court date and all of that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
So that's a real help in the community, for people. People don't understand the economic impact of the prison system on the family in general. Krasner understood that, the Players Coalition understood that, and that's why I like that. Okay, Benny, what's next here? There was a meeting this week of the owners. And these guys made some decisions that it's a spam call, Betty.
Call from
not me.
Not you spamming me this time?
No, not me.
All right. I just blocked them. Live on the air. Blocked. Anyway, so there was an owners meeting and they had some rule changes and things of that nature. And one of them had to do very much with the play with the Saints and the Rams. And there was a few other things that happened that I thought were very interesting.
Sorry.
Try to pull that up. There we go. Let's see if I can get ready to share this with the people here. Oh, yeah. Here we go. There we go. Right there. Here we go. Okay. Approved 2019 playing rules. So first of all, the kickoff rule changes that were implemented last year, they made those permanent.
Right.
So that actually had, from what I understand, a measurable impact in reduction of injuries.
It also made onside kicks nearly impossible.
Okay. There was actually a discussion about trying to have some kind of alternate down and distance situation that you could choose between an onside kick. And I wasn't sure why they were saying, and that's probably why, but it got voted down from what I understand.
I think it was tabled for a later discussion.
Okay.
And it has something to do with whatever the AAF does. Isn't that interesting?
Isn't it interesting? We're going to talk about the AAF.
They're looking at an AAF rule for the NFL. How crazy!
Well, you got to remember, the AAF is kind of like their trial.
Yes.
Anything they want to try out, place they can try stuff out.
Right.
And so we'll talk about the AAF because it is interesting what you're saying relative to that. But again, we'll get there. Number 2, expands protection to a defenseless player. So those blindside blocks, can't do them no more, man. That touchdown that the Eagles had against your Giants, with what's the name who just came back to the Eagles, we wide out.
Oh, Deshaun.
If you remember, there was a blindside hit on that kickoff return that truly freed him. And I forget, I don't know if it was Freddie Mitchell with him?
No.
It was somebody who was a receiver, about the 3rd receiver or something, I believe. But a serious blindside block, which really opened up like that whole third of the field, and he was out from that point on. That thing had been called back under the current rules of the way it is. Those are some of the blocks that you go, ooh, ooh, gone.
Right. So there's no more, if your head's in front, it's okay. If your head's in the back, it's not. Blindside is blindside, regardless.
So, yeah, it's kind of like that. It's kind of like, but you see how they described it, defenseless. So you know how when we were coming up in football, we were taught to keep your head on the swivel.
Right.
Right? Because they could be coming from anywhere. The reason my nose moves in different directions is because I was going down to cover a punt, and the wideouts who were sort of there, rather than even try to block me, they just elbowed me in the face. But I really wasn't focused on them. I was looking at the ball, you know?
Right.
So, but again, you get those guys who are, in an area, all of a sudden the play moves in their direction and they're looking to turn around, and next thing you know, somebody's coming out of the clear blue. So, whap! That was beauty in football. That's what you were supposed to do. But that, I believe, is going to kind of make it a milder game. People will be probably safer and won't be as injured, because they do knock your block off with those things. But I do believe it's going to change the tenor of the game.
I think it'll have more impact, or knowing the rule as it is now will have more impact on plays from scrimmage as opposed to kick returns, punts and kickoffs. Punts and kickoffs, guys are going to be trying to make their block. And I think they're going to take their chances on getting called for a blindside block or not, because things are happening too fast and there's too many people all kind of focused on the same thing, either getting to the ball carrier or making a block, as opposed to plays from scrimmage where half the team is still at the line of scrimmage, the pass is downfield, and you're just dealing with receivers and DBs. They can pull up a little easier than you can if you're going down trying to cover a kick. So you'll probably see it get called more on kick returns than anything else.
Yeah, that can really happen on the kick return. I wasn't sure what's going on with the enforcement of double fouls when there is a change of possession. I'm not sure what they mean when they say change the enforcement. I'll have to look into that. Do you know anything about that?
Let me see if I can get a better description of that.
All right. So in the meantime, while you're checking that out, simplifies the application of scrimmage kick rules for missed field goals. We'll have to see what that means also.
Yeah, I was looking for a better description. They make these rules and they change these rules, and some of these descriptions are pretty, I don't know, I don't want to say vague, but.
Let me see if is there some more here? See, this is where you get into they amended Rule 49. So you don't have the whole rule here in front of you.
You need the rule book.
Yeah, you need the whole rule
that's
book.
what I have to do. We'll have to get ourselves a rule book
Well, the rule
And
book is
then,
actually right here online.
okay, but
But we're
I'm
not going to
saying
go
until
that deep into it right now. We'll figure out a little bit more about that, and I'm sure we'll bring that up as we're able to focus in on that. Um, let's see here. Allows teams to elect to enforce on the succeeding try or on the succeeding free kick an opponent's personal or unsportsmanlike conduct foul committed during a touchdown.
I got that one. That one's pretty simple, and the example is perfect. Let's say the offensive team scores, and they have an excessive celebration, right? Before the rule change, they tacked on the 15 yards to the kickoff. Now, the defensive team can elect to tack on the penalty to the extra point. They have a choice. They can go ahead and let it go to the kickoff, or they can move the extra point back. Now, they already changed the rule for the extra point. It's already like a 30-something yard field goal to get an extra point. You add 15 to that. That's a rough extra kick for 1 point.
Now, the only thing confuses me here is that it says an opponent's personal or unsportsmanlike conduct foul. So I'm assuming if I'm the team that scored, it's the defense that did something unsportsmanlike from this.
Why? Just because it says an opponent?
Yeah, that's why.
No.
That's
No.
pretty much
It also mentions excessive celebration. So, or
well, it doesn't say anything about excessive celebration.
well, okay. It talks about something that happens after a touchdown, right?
It says opponent's personal or unsportsmanlike conduct foul committed during a touchdown.
Okay. Unsportsmanlike. Excessive celebration is unsportsmanlike.
Okay, that's probably true.
That's a 15-yard penalty that's normally tacked on to the succeeding kickoff.
Okay.
Now that other team has a chance to, or has a decision to make as to whether they want to put it on the kickoff or if they want to put it on the extra point, where they couldn't put it on the extra point before.
Okay.
Now they can. Only thing I can think of to counteract that is to go for two, which normally go for two from the 2-yard line. So you put 15 on that. That's the 17. I'll go for two from the 17, then try to kick a freaking 40-something yard for one. I don't know. Would you? I don't know. That's me.
From the 41?
I don't know if it's from the 41. Where did they kick the extra point from now? It's got to be from the 20, because it's a 30-something yard kick to make an extra point.
So you subtract 17, 15, 12, right? Because you had 17 for the length of the kickoff. I think it's in the 30-some yard range total.
Right. So if you get a penalty and you tack on 15 to that, that's a long kick. But if you go for two and you tack on 15 to that, you're only 17. You're on the 17-yard line.
Well, as always, it depends on who your players are. If you got a kicker,
absolutely. But I'm just saying,
who can hit it from 45 plus, real consistent, or if you got an offense where you give me, like in my case, you give me that much more space to work with, I got better shot at getting something in the end zone.
Absolutely. That's my point.
As well as it's the compression that screws you up within the red zone. So
right. Every rule change that eliminates something, teams have to figure out a way. How do I counteract that? How am I able to still get something positive out of this, as opposed to just being penalized and that's it? So
that's that creativity. When we talk about the AAF, the fact that they can't kick and they have to go for it, and you sit there and look at the variety of goal line that they're coming up with now. I'm actually trying to take a closer look because to see what really works.
Well, you have to come in with an entire goal line package.
Yeah. You
can't just say, "Oh, we're going for two, so we're going to run this play." Now you need a whole package.
Oh yeah, you got to have a package, right? Which you should have anyway. You should have that anyway. But I mean, you have to have it, and you got to have a few plays, not just one or two go-to plays. You got to be
Well, you will now if you're going to try to go for two after your team's been penalized. You're going to have it. See,
yeah.
under normal circumstances, in an NFL game, you might not see any 2-point conversions. You might see 2, 3 tops. In an AAF game, you're going to see one after every touchdown.
After every touchdown. That's
So
right.
you have to have a full package. So now you can't be jumping around and doing all that crazy stuff in the end zone after you score a touchdown, because if you get a penalty, now the onus is on your coach to come up with a way to get an extra point or 2.
That's a good point, application-wise to what we're talking about.
That's right.
You know, it's interesting when you say that, because as I think back to the NFL season, what team would you say ran the most 2-point attempts? I have one in mind, but I'm gonna ask you.
There's a stat on it. I think it was the Steelers.
I think it was the Steelers
I'm
also.
pretty sure it was the Steelers. Yeah. Yes.
They ran 2-point conversions when they absolutely did not have to.
Yeah.
They, that was just what they decided they were going to do. All right, let me see here. Okay, number 6, C. For 1 year only, okay, they're going to expand the reviewable plays in instant replay to include pass interference, called or not called on the field. Also expands automatic replay reviews to include scoring plays and turnovers negated by a foul, and any try attempt, extra point to 2-point conversions. Now, they actually have a link here. So let's see what the link says. All right. This might actually answer some of the questions that we had, but let's see. 6C. Instant replay. Coaches challenge. The team permitted 2 challenges that will initiate instant replay reviews. Head coach will initiate the challenge throwing a red flag. If it's upheld, we know all about that stuff. May challenge any reviewable play in a score for either team, an interception, a fumble, a backwards pass recovered by an opponent or goes out of bounds, a muffed scrimmage kick recovered by the kicking team. May not challenge a reviewable play after the 2-minute warning throughout the overtime, after committing a foul that delays the next snap, and after exhausting all of its challenges or timeouts. A replay review will be initiated by a member of the officiating department from a location in the league office or replay official from the replay booth comparable to the location of the coach's booth or press box when the on-the-field ruling is a score, an interception, a fumble, a backwards pass, a muffed scrimmage kick, after the 2-minute warning of each half, throughout the overtime, and any disqualification of a player, and any try attempt, successful or unsuccessful. There is no limit to the amount of replay reviews that may be initiated by personnel designated in this article. The ability of the designated personnel to initiate a review will be unrelated to the number of timeouts that either team has remaining, and no timeout will be charged for any review initiated pursuant to this article. So they've changed what can be reviewed, by who, by what. The biggest part of it is that you can have a review of a foul that someone suspects happened but was not called.
Yes. Unless it's under 2 minutes, in which case the booth has to decide to review it.
Exactly. And they have that opportunity. It's reviewable in
Right.
whatever, initiated by one or the other, but it's pretty much a reviewable situation.
Right.
And it was pretty much not. I mean, if someone didn't call something, that's you never really called, we're able to go back and the people and the replays on, when you're watching the television and things, you could see all the replays. You could say what you wanted to say, but as far as it being reviewable by on an official level, just didn't happen. So this is big time, but it's only for 1 year. What do you think about it?
Well, it's a 1-year trial. We'll see what happens. I think it's not going to be an easy thing to decide on. I was watching a program a little earlier today, and TJ Hushmanzada was trying to explain about pass interference, offensive or defensive, being basically happening on darn near every pass play in a game. There's continuous hand fighting, and the question is always going to be how the booth is going to see it. I'm not talking about well, yeah, I am talking about the coaches. Even if the coach throws the red flag, when they replay it, the booth still has to review it and say yes or no, offense or defense, and they're going to have a tough time doing it. And he gave 2 examples. One was a receiver trying to get downfield. The DB's running side by side. The receiver has a step, and in order for the defensive back not to lose his leverage, he is smacking the one arm as he's running. He's smacking the one arm of the receiver, and each time he smacks that receiver's arm, the receiver brings that arm around and smacks his hand down, and they're hand fighting through the entire route. Now, me personally, if there's enough forcefulness in what's going on there, then I'm calling it illegal use of hands. Forget about pass interference. And I've seen that happen a little bit, if it's forceful or if arms get extended. So they're very careful, offensively and defensively, not to extend their arms as best they can. They try to keep it to the hand fighting. It seems that up to this point, since this rule change, or before this rule change, that hand fighting was allowed. It's a no call, okay? So as long as you don't extend your arm, you're probably going to be okay. But who knows? Who knows what they're going to say when now that it's a reviewable call and they're being forced to make a judgment on it, how they're going to see it. If there's hand fighting, you see what I'm saying? There's hand fighting, and the offensive guy, as the ball's coming, gets the last shove of the arm and gets both hands up and catches a pass. Who's to say the defensive coach is not going to throw his red flag and say, he interfered with my guy trying to make a play on the ball? This is not going to be simple. There's going to be problems. You're going to see them mostly and immediately in the preseason.
If I understand correctly, you still only have so many red flags or so many times you can call.
That's the thing. And I didn't hear during your reading there the explanation as to whether or not, now that is become a play that can be challenged, are they going to allow each team one more challenge?
I don't think so. You're not going to, instead of it being how much the refs are going to let the players get away with, it's going to be how much the coaches let the players get away with.
Right. Now you got an extra thing.
They're like, nah, you're going to have to fight with that guy because I'm going to wait till it's a game, changing situation before
you gotta be really sure. Because you can't waste challenge. We see what happens to teams that waste challenges.
Yeah.
That can cost you a game later.
Absolutely.
This is going to be it'll be fun for the fans to yell and scream about. We'll see. This is going to be interesting. But in a way, not in a way, I'm glad they put it in, because we saw some pretty bad stuff last season. I'm not a Saints fan, but that was just crazy. In the Saints-Rams game, that was crazy. But then I've seen some tape of Saints receivers getting away with some stuff.
Well,
So
that was what everybody said. They said the Saints receivers had just gotten away with some stuff.
yeah, that's because Sean Payton was crying so much. I mean, he really was and he's like on the competition committee. So people were like, "Oh my God, here we go," you know. But yeah, he kind of forgot that he was the benefactor of some plays, some calls like that. So, you know, what are you gonna do?
That's the thing, you know. It, truth is not really highly valued in profession.
Not in football.
It's like they don't walk up to the ref and go, "My bad, man. Yeah, you."
That's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen.
It's like when Ndamukong Suh used to step on people's face, and then everybody be like, he'd be like, "Me? What? Who?
Right.
I did what? Did you? No, I'll never do that." So one of the things we talked about, and I'm gonna share this. Let's see if we can get that real quick. Article in the Washington Post, and I'm a Niner fan. You're a Giants fan. I think we both got roasted a little bit in this article. The 5 teams that overpaid in free agency, and who they got. Who's sitting up there in the picture? My Niners up there. And so right off the bat, they talk about the biggest names that have been snapped up and taking a look at which teams were most guilty of overpaying. My Niners stood right up there. Quan Alexander. Now they I like the way they grade stuff, but I have to really get a little more understanding of their whole grading system. But because if it's on a scale of 100, they're saying that my linebacker core was 58.7 last year, and they were probably right, especially after we lost what's his name to domestic abuse. See how quickly we forget. For
Smith.
you, huh?
It was a Smith.
Uh,
No, Foster. Excuse me.
Foster, right? Reuben Foster. Especially after we lost Reuben Foster. I mean, Reuben Foster was a monster, and having lost him, man, really, I think, changed it. I don't know if Quan Alexander is going to be Reuben Foster, but he got $13.5 million. He's rated 80 on Madden, which puts him right, as a good rating, but he's not exactly dominating. He ain't Luke Kuechly or anything like that. But he got a nice package, and he got a nice piece of guaranteed money in that package. There was a lot. That's one of the words that I was a little surprised at, how much guarantee money was flowing around. We'll at one point we're gonna talk a little bit about referencing the NFL salaries to some of the salaries of the other leagues, but we picked up also D Ford, right? Gave him a 5-year, $87.5 million deal. And when I look at the Niners, okay. Fred Warner, I like Fred Warner. He's in the middle for us. When you look at Malcolm Smith from the Seahawks, I like Malcolm Smith. Neither one, for example, in the Mad rating were rated much higher than 75. Where we were running into problems is with our, once you get beyond those two. So bringing in D Ford at D tackle now. When you look at our D tackles, DeForest Buckner, 87 in Madden. DeForest is good, okay? I like Earl Mitchell because he's a Mitchell, but he's a stout defender, man. He's strong, he's agile, and you can use him in a lot of ways. I don't know if we really took full advantage of that. Solomon Thomas, I like Solomon Thomas. Only rated 77 on Madden, but you know, solid. He's a guy that's got some speed, 6'2", 280. He got some nice agility. His awareness was a little low, but he's only what is he? 1 year. He's like a rookie. You know, he's got about a year or so. So
Do me a
that
favor.
he'll get better. But these two will. D Ford.
Thank you.
Okay.
So your point is?
So my point is, I kind of agree with them. I think we might have overpaid there.
Now you named like 7 dudes.
All of our different linebackers.
Are any of them?
Linebackers and D-line people. I think we have a nice. We have something to build on. I didn't know if you know if I think that Quan can help us. At, you know, he can come in and that's where that third, like with the other 2 linebackers that I talked about, Malcolm Smith and Fred Warner.
And remind me, Warner and Smith, what are their Madden ratings?
Warner is a 75.
Okay. And Smith?
75.
Okay. And Alexander?
80.
Okay. But you overpaid for him.
Yeah, that's the question. That's
well,
you know.
I thought you just answered the question. I thought you said, I think
that's the question.
They did overpay.
I agree with that. I think we might have overpaid for him. I do think that, you know, we had other guys who, again, much lower in the rankings. And I don't know, you know, but what I don't know is and this is what I was talking about relative to taking a look and seeing what some of the other middle linebackers at his level were being paid. Obviously, D Ford got more money. So that edge rusher guy making big salaries nowadays. But I do think he, you know, again, anybody that would bring our linebacking core, your top 3 linebackers, you know, bring up their rankings, you know, into that, at least get them up in the good strong B levels is going to help us overall. A good edge rush. We were low in terms of sacking, in terms of our sacks. That could be helpful too. But I really want to see what our defensive coordinator is really doing with what he has. That's another question that I have. So yeah, I think they might have overpaid for him. I don't know if 13 would have been is right. I have to look at the overall salary cap. What do you think? You think he's good?
Well, I think that's your opinion. You're entitled to it.
Well, thank you.
It's also not your money.
That's true too.
And although you love them with all your heart, and I know that you do, it's not your team. Okay? They got a guy that's better than anybody else they have on their team, per your beloved Madden. So to say that they overpaid him when they're trying to win right now, and they're trying to improve their defense right now, and at the linebacker position, they've acquired someone who's better than everybody else they have, I say they didn't overpay him. I think they paid him according to their need and what they expect to get from him and what his value is to them.
Okay. All right. I'll say this much, that one of the reasons, again, is that he's got a pretty injury-prone history.
Sure, that was taken into account.
So I don't, you know, that's another thing that goes into my account here. Let's take a quick look at what they say about the Raiders.
We don't need to look.
We don't?
You can just tell me who they overpay for. We're relating this to Madden, right?
We'll throw that in there. It says the Raiders Made two big moves out of the gate. Third and fifth round draft picks to Pittsburgh for superstar wide receiver Antonio Brown, and then handing Trent Brown the richest contract for an offensive lineman in history at $66 million. So, it seems as if what they're attempting to say, the Raiders agreed to restructure Brown's contract and make him the highest paid receiver at a max of $54 million over the next 3 years. And they're saying that's big money for a guy coming off his worst graded season to date and is 31 years old. And as for Trent Brown, now he's arguably the number one receiver in existence right now. They say that he overpaid for them. At offensive tackle, Colton Miller allowed 65 pressures last year, including a league-high 16 sacks. Brown, coming off a great postseason for England, was in the right place at the right time, but he ranked 37th in the NFL last season among tackles and pass grading blocks. So they're saying the Raiders overpaid. Are you familiar with what's going on with them?
Well, first of all, as far as I'm concerned, Antonio Brown being the highest paid receiver, I have no problem with that whatsoever. You can get 100 people and say who's the top three in the NFL, and his name's going to get mentioned 100 times. So if it's that close and the Raiders need a receiver and they went after him, then they're supposed to pay him. And him being paid more than any other receiver in the league, I have no problem with. Now, if he was getting quarterback money, see, to me, you also have to take into account, and I know the players hate this, but the position that you play kind of dictates your salary scale. A lot of people don't think that's fair. It probably isn't fair. That's Le'Veon Bell's biggest argument. But that's in place. That structure is in place. And if you're going to say a player is being overpaid, okay, the first thing I got to look at is where the other top receivers being paid. If this guy's making $1 million more than the average salary of Odell or DeAndre Hopkins, I don't think that's overpaying. I really don't. Average running back money is between 8 and 15 million a year. So the best running backs should be making 13, 14, 15 million a year. Receivers all around, and I don't want to go the low end to the high end, but 16, 17, 18 million a year. Okay? So if we look at Antonio Brown's contract, what's he making annually? Probably right around 18.
Well,
how is that overpaying?
We're going to look at some of those averages because thing about the when you say average, again, if you're averaging the starters, that's one average. When you average out over all of the running backs in the NFL, that number is going to drop.
Right. That's why I said I'm not taking the entire scale. Right. But we're talking about star players here. So we're talking about star players. How do you overpay a star player? You know what I mean? If the salary structure says that no receiver is making more than 17.5 per year, and then somebody decides to give somebody 18, that's not overpaying. He's resetting the standard for a top receiver.
Well, again, in this article, they're relating their ranking systems to the money, and they're saying that these people, according to their ranking systems, they're pretty low. So they're not really ranking them as high as some of those people in those averages that you're talking about. Let's jump for example.
But that's only one aspect. You're forgetting about all the other aspects. What team is acquiring this player? What is his value to them? It's their money. If he's worth it to them, You go to store to buy a suit, you look at the suit, and then you go to a cheaper store, you look at the suit and you go, I'm getting that one. That one ain't worth it. It's your money.
Well, you know, like, that's an interesting analogy because people would say, you know, that you get what you pay for.
Exactly.
And most of the suit is in the quality of the suit.
Exactly.
You might not be able to afford that quality, but
exactly.
that doesn't mean that the suit's not worth it. It's just like you're saying, maybe to you right now, you can't even afford it. But in the context of their rating systems, and I'm just telling you how
If they want a player,
you're not arguing with me at this point, you're arguing with them.
If you no, I'm not, because you're basing your opinion
so let's
on
use
people's opinion, and they're only looking at one aspect. They're looking at their rankings. That's Pro Football Focus saying he ran this many routes, he caught this many balls, he had a chance at this many, he dropped this money. Therefore, we're going to rank him at this number. But those numbers go up and down every year, every season. Every star player had one bad season. A bad season for them is the greatest season another receiver ever had in his whole career. You can't.
Let's move on to the Jaguars. Let's move on to the Jaguars here. And again, I understand that you're philosophically opposed to what they're saying. So apply your philosophy to what, huh?
Go ahead. Go ahead. Keep talking.
So they're saying here, the Jacksonville Jaguars overpaid for Nick Foles. They say the former Super Bowl MVP has been one of the NFL's feel-good stories, but his overall performance over the course of his career does not merit a 4-year, $88 million deal.
And they're right.
Oh, you agree with that one?
I agree with that one.
On what grounds do you agree with that? Because to them, it's their value. That's what you were saying before. So how do you agree with this?
It is because he's far better than the bum that they had. And he was the best available for what they could afford. Therefore, it works for them. But what they're getting, go back and look at his track record. It's Case Keenum all over again, bro. Case Keenum all over again. When he was here and he played 6 games, he was great. When he was over here and he played a full season, he stunk. Then he came over here, he played 3 games, playoffs, got to a Super Bowl. MVP, oh, he's so wonderful, he's wonderful. He got back over here, he stunk again. Come on. You don't see what's happening here?
There's a trend, there's a history that looks like he's going to be doomed to repeat it.
Exactly. Antonio Brown been great from boom, 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 boom. His worst season is better than almost everybody else in the league. His worst season. Track record. But to that team, he's worth it.
All right. So
that's what I say. You can't look at one thing. There's a multitude of things that have to be taken into consideration.
The New York Giants. There is arguably, this is the article, no franchise in the NFL that has paid more for less over recent seasons. And the 2019 free agency period did absolutely nothing to fill Giants fans with hope for the future. Right? In addition to keeping Eli, the general manager, Dave Gettleman, took an offer he couldn't refuse and traded away the league's 9th most valuable non-quarterback in Odell Beckham Jr., star pass rusher Olivier Vernon, in exchange for Jabril Peppers, guard Kevin Zeitler, a first-round pick, and a third-round pick. In addition, it says here, Gettleman gets $34 million in dead money against the cap, which is $10 million more than the next closest team.
That's a stupid decision.
Against the cap.
That's called a stupid ass decision.
The addition of Zeitler and Golden Tate will help secure positions of need this season, but Tate hardly came cheap at 4 years and $37 million. Say it again, Benny.
Say what again?
What you just said.
The dead money they have to pay for Beckham is a stupid decision. You don't pay dead money. That's idiotic. Only baseball teams do that. Only baseball teams do that. You don't do that in football, where you have a salary cap. That makes no sense at all.
What's the salary cap?
I don't know exactly what the cap is now, but I tell you this: you don't pay somebody that's not on your team.
$34 million sounds like a large percentage of.
I wouldn't pay a penny to a player that's no longer on my team. Not a freaking penny. I don't care how bad I want to get rid of him.
Oh man,
It makes no sense whatsoever.
I'm telling you.
Now, if you want to say they overpaid for Golden Tate, we can take each player at its own. You want to say they overpaid for Golden Tate? He got 4 years for $37 million. So how much is that? $7 million a year? I'm not good at math.
All right, we'll say it is. Then what?
So I don't think that's overpaying.
Okay.
$7 million a year for your number one receiver?
Okay.
You kidding me? That's a drop in a bucket. Maybe my math is wrong. Maybe I'm missing something. 30.
Someone help Ben with his math. I'm doing some other stuff right now. Ben.
It's $9.25 million.
Okay.
I don't think that's overpaying. Now, you might not. People will have their opinions about how good Golden Tate is and all this. There's a position of need because of the stupid mistake they made getting rid of Beckham that they compounded by continuing to pay Beckham when he's not even on the damn team anymore. Okay? You want to throw all that in? Then, yeah, you overpay for Golden Tate. Okay. Because you can't afford that. But $9 million? Antonio Brown's making $18 million.
Okay, that's
Golden
a good
Tate's
reference
going to
point.
make $9 million.
That's a good reference point.
Is Antonio Brown that much better than Golden Tate?
Twice as good. Twice as nice.
Is he? Would you say that he's twice as good?
He's twice as nice?
I don't know. I don't think so. But
he's more of a,
but I wouldn't call Tate a great
game breaker than what Golden Tate is.
Right.
But I think Golden Tate is a good he's kind of like Quan. He's gonna contribute. He's gonna make tough catches, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't know if he's the game breaker that Antonio Brown is, and I don't know if that's worth twice the money. All right, I wanna move on real quick. Vegas Insider is putting out NFL future odds now on odds to win the 2019-20 Super Bowl. That would be 54 on February 20th, 2020. Put that date in your calendar, Benny. Guess who's got the best odds?
New England Patriots.
And New England Patriots. 6-1 odds. Who do you think is number 2?
I don't know. Probably the Chiefs.
Actually, the Chiefs and the Rams are both 8-1 in the odds, so they're kind of tied. The Chiefs.
So I would have said Chiefs second, Rams third.
Huh?
Okay. I would have said Chiefs second, Rams third, so I'm still in there. But Saints. I got it up. I didn't have it up in front of me, and I guessed the first 3 right. Now I have it up in front of me. I'm not surprised at all. There's nothing surprising here. There's nothing at all surprising here.
Even with the Browns?
No. That's not it's not
1,
that
2,
surprising.
3, 4, 5. The Browns are in 6th place.
It is not that
ahead of the Philadelphia Eagles.
It is not
ahead
that
of the Colts.
I don't
ahead
agree.
Of the Bears. Are you serious?
I don't agree exactly where they are, but I am not that surprised. I'm not. I'm not. I think the Colts should actually be ahead of them. I think the Bears should be ahead of them. I think the Eagles and the Packers should be lower.
Then
Bam.
the Browns. Eagles and Packers
Absolutely.
lower than the Browns.
Absolutely.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. And that's not Eagles hate. I'm telling you, if these guys, they're not done yet. If they have a good defensive draft and actually get a real defensive playmaker, I don't care where he's at. Linebacker, D-line, I think their D-line is cool. A good DB, because they just got rid of Peppers. Okay? They make a couple of moves and show their defense, and they are going to be
coming up, Benny.
They are going to be really, really tough.
A lot of good defensive talent in this draft.
Absolutely. And a lot of it's going to go in the first round. But there'll still be some left.
But people who didn't see our last show, if you go back and review the last show where we do the highest rated players from the NFL Combine, I think out of the top 10, like 9 of them were defense.
At least 8.
You know what I'm saying? So okay.
So it's right there for them, man. It's right there for them. You know what's going to be the big question? Their coach, who people have been giving a lot of props to and saying that they expect him to do well. So if these so-called experts that value this guy as a really good coach, if he actually comes in here and does what's expected of him, they're going to be rough. They're going to be the Ravens and the Steelers better get going, because that division is going to be hell.
But wait, Benny, what about the Minnesota Vikings? They have a $80 million guaranteed quarterback at the helm.
They're right there, and I know you like to keep bringing up his salary, but that's over now. We should have had the did they overpay discussion back when they got him.
I did have that discussion.
Remember correct?
Go back and check Ben and Barry previous.
I was about to say that. In actuality, the two of us did have this exact discussion about them, and I brought up the whole he's worth it to them and all that stuff. But you know what they did? They took heavily into account his track record with a far inferior team. And I do believe that he will have a much better season than he just finished. Believe that.
But not better than the Browns?
No, well, wait a minute. So what's the question? Should the Vikings be rated ahead of the Browns on that list?
Yeah.
That's the question?
That's the question.
Ooh, that's a tough one. They shouldn't be far apart. I'm not going to say who's better or not. If I'm thinking veteran players, teams been together longer, I would put the Vikings ahead.
Cleveland's in 5th place according to the Vegas odds.
Yeah, that's too high.
Are at 10th place.
Right, that's too high. I would move them. I would move the Browns down. I would move the Vikings up.
Okay.
Maybe they meet at 7 and 8 or 6 and 7, somewhere in there.
22-1. That's the Vikings and the Cowboys, both 22-1. My Niners are coming in at 25-1. A little ahead of. Wait a minute, am I right there? No, I'm sorry. The 25-1 belongs to the Cowboys. The 49ers are 30-1, tied 1, 2, 3, a 4-way tie at 30-1 with the Steelers, the Falcons, and the Chargers. And my Niners all at 30-1 odds for the Super Bowl next year.
Yeah, Niners are too high too.
Too high?
Too high. How are the Niners ahead of the Chargers?
Garoppolo.
And the Steelers. Okay. All right, one guy. So if that's your answer, then why not the $84 million man? Why not?
That guy ain't did nothing. You still waiting?
Oh my God,
dude!
Garoppolo hasn't played a full season yet.
He's done nothing.
You sound like these people that believe
in Jimmy G.
God, you know you're horrible, man. You.
Guess where your Giants are.
And just wear it out. I don't care where the Giants are.
Guess where the Giants are.
I really don't care. All I want to see
125-1.
All I want to see is they put together a viable squad and win some games. That's all I care about. Next year, I want to see him make the playoffs. The year after that, we're good. That's all I want to see. Make smart moves, have a good draft, maybe get Rosen from the Cardinals. That'd be a
Like
big
that?
thing.
You think?
Absolutely.
And did you see Drew? What's the guy's name? Just had his pro day. Drew. Oh man, I have to look at my notes. This guy actually,
Lock,
yeah.
he couldn't complete a pass in our flag league. He's not that good, man. Come on.
Man, they were fawning over his pro day.
Come on.
Fawning, talking about how much he actually physically looked like Eli.
Stop it.
I'm telling you what they were saying.
Please stop. You take those comparisons and throw them out the window and listen to these comparisons. The kid from Duke, I think his name is Daniel Jones. Look at him compared to Eli, and he played for Eli's quarterback coach.
No, I think that's who we're talking about. If I was saying Drew, you're more correct. Daniel Jones.
Okay, I understand that.
Okay,
and I understand the attraction.
I'm sorry, I'm staying corrected. Thank you.
I understand those comparisons, and I understand them kind of leaning that way. It's almost, it's not the same as, but it's kind of like bloodlines. You know what I mean? He's got to be good. He's got to fit here because same coach, same style, same size, same throwing motion. I understand that, and they can get him later. They don't have to get him in the first round. And if they're really thinking that way, really leaning that way, I mean, if they're right and he pans out, that'll be good for them because now at number 6, they could take DK Metcalf.
Oh, no.
I knew that would hurt. Did it hurt?
Oh,
Did it hurt?
It hurt, yes.
Look at that. I just jabbed you.
It hurt right.
Or they could take a D lineman, which they need really bad too.
I hear the Buffalo Bills might take DK Metcalf.
I wouldn't be surprised. They're shoring their things up there. Didn't they get Amendola and somebody? They got a few guys.
Look, you talking about
But
the
you know why though?
Watch out for Buffalo.
You know why? Because they believe in their quarterback.
Yeah.
They feel like we got to surround him with weapons. They're making a commitment, and they're going to surround him with weapons and see what happens. I don't blame them.
They're 60-1 to win their own conference.
That's what I'm saying. They got nothing to lose. All they got to do is beat the Dolphins. Nobody expects them to beat anybody else. The Dolphins are going to stink. So that's all they got to do is beat the Dolphins. They'll be good.
All right, then we're going to move on. There's another, let's see here, that we wanted to kind of, before we end it today.
While you're doing that, I'm going to go off screen for 1 second. Excuse me, folks.
Okay. So what we were going to do here is want to talk a little bit about the AAF, the Alliance of American Football. And they were in the news a couple times this week. They were really a few different things happening. Number one, Mr. Johnny Manziel left.
Johnny Manziel.
Johnny Football. Johnny Football got. It was really funny. I don't know what Johnny Football did relative to his contract with the CFL.
Right.
But he was like banned across the league. Like,
wait. He got banned in the CFL?
Banned with a capital B.
What did he do? Kill somebody?
I'm not sure what he did, but I think it had to do with contracts. Because came into one team, got traded to another team, and the next thing you know, you start hearing about the AAF. He wound up going to the Iron, of all things, under Mike Singletary.
Oh,
which I think is hilarious.
That's not a good match.
But they're saying all the right things. They're saying all the right things. And if Johnny Football has grown up, and you know, they bring him in for a few series, and the first thing he just starts doing is running all around the place. It was
I don't
kind
really
of
have any
funny
words for this guy. So,
because you and I know my philosophy, my theory on defensive coaches in the NFL is that their ability to really run an offense is lacking generally. I generally think they need a really good offensive coordinator that they can lean on. And I'm not sure who Singletary has. I need to go back and check that out. But I felt like they kind of, I don't know if the guy got hurt or what, but I felt like they kind of really forced Johnny Manziel into the offense a little bit. So.
oh, you know what? I think the quarterback for Singletary's team was the guy that's been in the NFL for about 4 years or so, kicking around on a couple teams' benches, and he used to play at Penn State. And his name will come to me because all I can think of is McSorley right now, but he's just coming out. It was the other guy, and he
Marcus McDade? No, these came from Fresno.
no.
Yeah, Marcus McDade, Luis Perez, and Keith Price.
Oh no, okay. Well, it's not who I thought it was then.
Okay.
This is their roster here?
This is their roster. I don't see
Okay, no.
on it. I guess they haven't updated it yet.
Yeah, that's all right. I'm mistaken. But my thing is, for Johnny Manziel to be banned from the league because of something contractual, I would think that when he tried to make this AAF move, well, he actually made the move. He went against something that was written into his CFL contract. And once he violated the contract he had with the team in the CFL, they're probably going to sue him and all kinds of stuff. And the CFL as a league probably said, this guy's a knucklehead. We don't want him back.
And I think I might need to correct something. Let me double check here. I'm looking through the AAF, and I'm thinking that maybe I said Iron, and it should be the Memphis Express. I'm sorry. There it is right there.
Christian Hackenberg.
Christian Hackenberg. That's why it wasn't making sense what we were saying. Okay. Fantastic.
If you go up to Singletary and there's no cameras around and you say, what do you think about Christian Hackenberg? He's going to go like this. That guy, he was on the Jets. He was on a couple other teams. He plays one preseason game per year, stinks it up. They get him out of there. Yeah, Christian Hackenberg is not an NFL. If he makes a career in the AAF, good for him.
Which brings up the question, because you sent me the article about the owner or the league, the head of the league for the AAF saying something to the effect that if they can't use NFL players, they would probably go out of
business.
Close the league, go out of business. But the guys that they have playing now, they're not on any NFL contract.
No, but most of those guys are what you would call ex-NFL players. In other words, like you said, they're not under contract to an NFL team. And they're trying to maybe keep their careers going or show enough to get a second chance at the NFL or something like that.
So this is the second chance league. So what is he talking about where he's saying, like we need NFL players? And that's where apparently the Players Association is coming in into it and saying, they have an issue with this or something. And some of the league rules dealing with NFL players, what they can do in the offseason and everything. But those people are under a contract from what I understand.
Right. There seems to be some mixed signals as far as interpretation of developmental league is concerned. In other words, if you're a young player and maybe you're just on special teams, they seem to think, or the AAF seems to think, that you should be able to come over and play during their season and possibly start to enhance your development so that you can do more once you go back to the NFL. That sounds like the G League, the NBA and the G League thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where you can kind of bounce back and forth, where they drop you down and then you can come back up. Now, if the AAF had that in mind from the beginning, I'm not sure they made that clear, because this seems to be news. It's news to me, but it seems to be news to the NFL too. Like, they should have said something about that from day one, if you ask me. So I don't think whatever agreement the two leagues had, that they really looked at that part of it. Number one, it's bad for the player. I don't care if you're a bench warmer. You should not go through practice and all the rigors of training camp and everything else, play an entire NFL season, and then have a month off and come back and play an entire AAF season. I don't think that's good for the player. And I believe that's the union's main argument. That's not good.
These guys aren't getting any playing time.
It doesn't matter. They practice every week. They run, they lift, they do everything everybody else does. Just don't get as many practice reps with the starting quarterback.
Sounds funny reps with the backup. You're in a league where everybody plays year round, spring, summer, and spring, fall, and tournament.
Yeah, and we don't take helmets to the back either. We don't have people diving at our legs either. It's a big difference. That's not good for any player. Football, basketball, okay. Football, no. Tackle football should not be played year round. Period. Not good for anybody. You're shortening your career. Now you want to, if the union fights about it amongst themselves and decides to go with this, then you're going to shorten your career to possibly make more money in a shorter period of time. That's the way I look at it. And I think that's the way the union's looking at it at this point.
Okay. So right now, I did watch some of the games. You have the Orlando Apollos in the Eastern Conference. They're tops in the Eastern Conference. They're 6-1.
Oh, they lost the game.
Yeah, they finally lost the game. San Antonio Commanders. I watched them put up some points. They're 5-2. The Hot Shots, Arizona 4-3. San Diego Fleet 3-4. Salt Lake Stallions 2-5. The Birmingham Iron, who I had mistaken, were 4-1. Oh, there we go. There's my man Mike Singletary with the Memphis Express at 2-5. Down there with the Atlanta Legends, who actually won a couple games themselves at 2-5. They were struggling a bit. Again, the Iron, when you look at points against, as I look through the league here, it looks like the top team is the Orlando Apollos. They're the one coached by the college guy, right?
Spurrier.
Steve
Spurrier.
Steve, 70-some years old.
Yep.
Showing these young whippersnappers what it's all about.
He knows offense.
202 points scored so far. As I look across the league.
How many games have they played?
7.
Okay.
The closest in terms of scoring, Arizona put up 163.
So I'd say they have the superior offense, no doubt.
No doubt at 202. And at 105 on defense.
Where's that put them?
In first place.
Are you serious?
The lowest number I'm seeing across the board is 124 by the Birmingham Iron, who I know them. That's what I know for defenses, Birmingham Iron. One thing they did, I saw them in a goal line situation, go like 4 straight on the team, give up nothing.
So they're second in defense as far as points allowed.
The Iron, yeah.
So Spurrier's team is number 1 in points scored and number 1 in points allowed.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That would give them, let's see, 100 from 200.
This doesn't seem fair. Let's face it. When we knew the net point power rankings, How often do you see that? Like,
Yeah,
never.
you don't see that.
Like, never.
Right. That is true. That is true.
Something happened when they divvied up those players. Something went wrong, or somebody was really smart.
Coaches, the old head is showing these young boys how to coach.
Well,
On both sides of the ball.
tell you what,
See something.
he did it. He did his homework.
This is who we're looking at, the Orlando Apollos, right? The Orlando Apollos, I'm trying to see who their offensive and who their coordinators are. So let's look real quick.
Spurrier's probably the offensive coordinator. He never lets anybody call plays.
Head coach, Steve Spurrier. Defensive coordinator, Bob Sanders.
I know that name.
I know. And apparently they don't have an offensive coordinator because they have none listed. They have a lot of position coaches beyond that.
Spurrier never lets anybody call plays for him.
Tight ends, Scott Spurrier.
Ah.
I remember Jim Jeffcoat. You remember that name?
Yes, Cowboys.
Defensive line coach.
Played defensive tackle for the Cowboys.
Donnie Abraham.
I know that name too.
Cornerbacks coach.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute. You ready for the safeties coach? Lito Shepherd.
Ooh. I tell you what, man. I don't know if Spurrier put this team together or his GM put this team together or the two of them, but they did their homework, and you can see the results so far. They're going to have to really slip up to not win the chip. They're far superior. They're far superior.
You're right. They're going to have to slip up seriously to not win that chip. I mean, that's for sure.
Kudos to Lito Shepherd for getting the job. He was always solid. Good player.
Absolutely. Eagles. Who else did he play with? Did he play with anybody else?
Don't think so.
Okay. So we've covered a lot of ground so far. We're getting ready to wrap this up here. Talked about the Players Coalition, talked about some of the rules, what's going on, took a look at some of the contracts, who's getting paid and overpaid, took a look at the AAF, what's going on with the Alliance of American Football. Like I said, the news hit, number one, Johnny Manziel moved from from Canadian football over to the AAF. The AAF had offered Colin Kaepernick. They talked to Colin Kaepernick. He said he wanted $20 million. I actually saw an article, Ben, and I think we're following this guy now on our social media. We'll run through that real quick, and then we'll do our rants. But this guy actually said the same thing I said about potentially Colin Kaepernick going to the CFL. There's a mismatch between the money he's talking about and the amount of salary cap available through the CFL.
Okay.
He was saying that it would really help to move Colin Kaepernick back into playing football in a league that's wide open and kind of really fits his skill set in a country that wouldn't hold his stance against him and would actually probably celebrate him, you know? And then if he could actually go there and excel, he would then have increase the demand, the NFL demand for his skills, and then somebody would be willing to say, hey, let's bring him back. You know, he's ready to play football. He's all about the football right now.
I agree with that stance. However, the question still remains, does he really want to play? Because I'm sure he understands the AAF salary setup, and he knew that asking for $20 million
wasn't going to happen.
Right. So instead of saying no, he said, I'll take $20 million, because he knew that wasn't going to happen. The CFL, that's another story. I don't know about their caps and all that. But if he's going to ever have a chance to get anything close to 20 million, he probably would have to go there.
Yeah, and we that was our question, whether or not this guy really wants to play football. He's got enough money that he doesn't need to do anything, so that's not an issue. He's reveling in the attention, very much focused on. He got this Kaepernick jersey, and everybody's still supporting Kaepernick and all of that. He's got this whole band of followers now, so. How much he really wants to get out there and subject his body to all of that is a real question mark. So, Benny, at this point, I want to just go through our social media real quick. We have Ben and Barry on football on Facebook at BNBOF. I don't know if you got a chance to see what I sent for you, but did you see?
Yes, I did. You don't have to show it. Yeah, you know what? Go ahead and show it. All right? Because I promised some weeks ago that I wouldn't get on Eagles fans, and I'm going to try to keep my promise. So just go ahead and show it.
I did think it was funny, though.
This is you. This is not me, folks.
He said that 9-year-old said something. He had to go Google. Find out what that 9-year-old kid said.
Let's keep it in context. Show the people what 9-year-old, what city he was in. Where were they playing?
Philadelphia Eagles.
Thank you. Thank you. Gave him the double finger salute.
It's a different culture. The double finger. Yeah,
said something about his mom. A 9-year-old said something about a grown man's mother. Are you serious?
We shared this about the Canadian Football League. I'm trying to look at the salaries again relative to the different leagues now. And actually, I said they make about 80,000. I believe that actually is closer to 50,000. But there's different stats because, again, they don't release their information. They had a combine. The CFL had a combine. And they actually charge $200 to the athletes who want to. So if you want to, if you want to try out for the CFL, you got to come with your own helmet, with your own shoulder pads, and $200 in order to try out.
That's no. You got to pay to try out for the Philadelphia Soul.
Okay, well that gives them relevance. A reference point. You know what I'm saying? If you go to the CFL's website, though, this guy here talks a little bit about. Like here, he has a little piece about running backs in the CFL. The CFL has a minimum threshold for their 40 times and stuff like that. And so if you don't, and I forget what it is, it's like 4 or 5 or somewhere in that area. But it's like if you don't run faster than this, you might as well not even come out.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
I think that sucks.
But he talks about how their running backs are used. Their running backs are more like a slot receiver in the CFL. So speed is definitely important in that particular game. So I just thought it was interesting, and people, looking at the CFL, that they would want to, check that out. So that's a little bit of some of the information type of stuff that we shared at Ben and Barry on football. I want to remind people that the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings are still around, not putting out a whole bunch right now because there's not a lot of net points being scored. I did a little bit on the AAF, but if you go back and take a look at what we did last season, I think you'll make sure that you really check in with us as the 2019 season kicks off and we begin to track the net points and the bias. Again, our term for the difference in net points between two teams who are going to play each other. The bias goes to the team with the greater net points. So that's the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings. I asked you during the just quickly who your favorite analyst was, and you mentioned what's his name that has the show on?
Colin Cowherd.
Colin Cowherd. I was looking to see who mine was because I didn't have a good, uh, I couldn't. I like what's the name on Schrager on Good Morning Football. He just has a lot of insight and he's everywhere. This guy works hard. But as I thought about it, you look up here, and I had to go back and I had to follow Mike Francesca. If you ever see him on the show, he was on Good Morning Football. This guy knows a lot about a lot of stuff. And the funny thing is, I have a whole social media thing that has to do with money and finance. When you look at the people he's following, I just thought it was hilarious because this guy has 109,000 followers, but he's only following 94 people. And when you look at who he's actually following, it becomes even funnier because a lot of them are not sports figures. You're looking at Barron's Magazine. You're looking at Daniel Niles, Alpha One Capital Partners, Fox Business, Bloomberg. He follows as much in terms of business and things of that nature as he does, sports. So when you actually listen to him, it is truly amazing to hear him talk. So I'm not sure if I agree with his politics because I think he's a Trump supporter, but I do think that his insightfulness is very interesting. Oh, didn't mean to go back there. There was another gentleman.
Before you go on, can I say something about Francesca?
Sure.
Francesca?
Uh-huh.
How about he's just a crotchety old man who thinks he knows everything and doesn't respect other people in the business?
Oh, there you go, Benny.
Just thought I'd throw that out there.
No, you sister. Okay. All right.
I mean, as far as his followers, because nobody's worthy of him following because he's so great at what he does.
Okay.
And he's a New Yorker, and he's on WFAN in New York.
Truly. So you're not a WFAN, eh? I just thought it was interesting the way he, when you say he thinks he knows everything, he might know a few things.
I didn't say he did. No. I didn't say he was worthy of the position that he holds, and I didn't say that the things that he says and the things that he knows aren't worthy. We were talking about it in reference to the people that he follows. And you said it was interesting. He follows all these business people, and he follows Trump, and he doesn't follow many people in sports.
I didn't say he doesn't follow many people in sports. I just found he doesn't follow a lot of people, period. But you're probably right. Yes, he doesn't follow a lot of people in sports because if you only follow 94, that's not a lot.
And that's why I said what I said.
Okay. I also mentioned that we're going to talk a little bit more as we move forward about what's going on internationally in terms of football. This is the American Okay, let me make sure I have the name right. American Football International. And so this is following leagues around the world who are playing American style football. And I think the reason, like I said, I do a financial channel, bizbreakfast.net, but and I always talk about income. And so often you have let's say you look at this graduating class right now, football players. Only so many are going to go to the NFL.
Right.
But some could potentially go to the AAF. All right. They're making an average of $80,000 a year. That's not a bad starting salary. The Canadian Football League is somewhere between 50 and 80. They got benefits and they got all types of stuff going on up there. Again, an opportunity to play football and get paid salary type money for it with health benefits in both of those leagues. And now I'm saying that there's potentially more of an international opportunity for some of our young men that are coming out, who maybe aren't getting into the NFL, but would still like to, play football and get paid a salary for it. So we'll try to expose some of those opportunities. Anything on that?
No, I have no problem with that. I think it's a wonderful thing that American football is becoming popular in other countries, so much so that they're actually forming leagues. And does the NFL have a hand in the AFI?
Not that I know of.
Okay, so that's actually a good thing, if you ask me.
Well, yeah, because we're talking about potential for competition, you know,
And
and NFL wanting to grow. Are they going to just try to grow their viewership, or they're going to try to grow the number of teams? What would be?
but I'm looking at it from the
32
other
teams
side.
is a lot of teams. I don't know if you would want more teams in the NFL.
No, I don't think you want more teams in the NFL.
Mm.
Maybe a couple, but not that many more. But I'm looking at it from the other side. I'm looking at it that the people that live in these other countries in Europe and what have you have watched the NFL and really like American style football. So much so that they are forming leagues. And this is a professional league. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're forming leagues and they're paying money to people, excuse me, to play American style football. It's the love of the game. It's not the NFL trying to push their product. This is the love of the game. I think that's a wonderful thing.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Real football fans. Real football fans. So who knows, Benny? We could become international.
Okay.
Hey, why not? Anything's possible. Anything's possible. All right. We're getting ready to wrap this up. Rants.
Yes.
I only have one rant.
What would that be?
And that's my Madden rant where there's still
Oh, what is it?
it's still not giving. But you know something? That's okay because I have learned how to record my own highlights. So it's a beautiful thing. And as I increase my skills in video editing, I'll actually be able to video edit some stuff that we might be able to show some footage or something like that.
I think you need to write a letter.
I know that's what you said last time. You know, we're talking about making money, and in today's time, even if you're not playing physically, if you're playing virtually, you have an opportunity to make money nowadays.
That's correct.
And these professional virtual gamers are making some nice money and showing up in NFL 100 commercials. Remember the guy with the pink hair?
Yeah.
Video gamer. So, all right, that's it for me. Anything for you?
Only thing for me is I'm sick and tired of this whole Antonio Brown versus the Steelers thing. This is way out of hand. You're not there anymore. You don't have to worry about any beef with Ben Roethlisberger anymore. You've gone to a team that you've agreed to go to, a team that you're putting on a happy face, saying you love it here. You practically you got a bromance with your quarterback. You're hugging him. You're taking him on family vacation with you. It's ridiculous. Leave the Steelers alone. They're not bothering you. Nobody's saying you were a bad guy. Nobody's saying we're glad he's gone. Nobody's saying anything. They're on the defense, defending their teammates against a guy who's an ex-teammate who just can't stop talking. I, for one, am sick and tired of it. I hope Le'Veon Bell doesn't have much more to say, but they're sticking microphones in his face, and he just had an article in Sports Illustrated where they tried to get the whole story about his whole thing over there. He's been on TV giving the whole, oh, they don't want you to play video games, and I'm into rap music and stuff. They don't want me to rap. They just think we're not really human. All we can do is play football and work out. That's all they care about. I've already heard at least 5 or 6 ex-players who are now in the media say the only team that's remotely close to being like that is the Patriots. So you're lying. So stop. Stop. You were probably overdoing it and somebody mentioned it to you. Like, you missed the weight room today, bro. Oh, I was in the studio. No, that's going to be frowned on. That's going to be frowned on. You can't divvy up your time well enough. There's plenty of other players that rap. Guys that got money in recording studios, record labels. There's lots of NFL players doing those kind of things. You got to do better than that, bro. But he said what he had to say. He's done with it. Seems like it's over. Oh, and by the way, Le'Veon, you should have took the franchise tag. You would have made more that 1 year than you'll make in your first, not in your first year, but it's more money than you're going to get annually for the 4 years. And they offered you a 5-year where you could have made $14 million a year for 5 years. You actually signed for 13.5, I think, for 4 years. So the only thing you really got that you claimed you wanted out of all those things that you said the Steelers were so unfair and wouldn't do for you is the guaranteed money up front. If that was the main thing, then you could have did us all a favor and told us, I need more guaranteed money. Because that's all you got. Overall, the other contracts were better. But you got the guaranteed money that you wanted. I think the Steelers were only going to guarantee him like 10, and it just guaranteed him like 30, 33, something. Okay, you're happy, I'm happy. Antonio Brown, I'm done with you. I'm done with you, man. You're not on my fantasy team. I have no love for you.
No love.
No love.
Not even on your fantasy team?
He's not on my fantasy team. I don't have him in my keeper league. So I have no love for him.
Would you take him if you could?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, all right. I thought you were
I still have Odell on my team. I'm not dropping.
You were having some fantasy insanity going on there for me.
I got Juju. I'll ride with him.
Ride with Juju.
I'll ride with Juju. I got Odell. I'm not dumping him.
Okay. Juju.
No, his stock is going. Odell's stock is going up. He got Baker Mayfield now.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'm done.
All right. Ben and Barry on football signing off.
Go Noles.
Go Noles.